Hello, how are you? I am back again, and today I want to do a quick video on how to authenticate an Alexander McQueen silk scarf. Now I am going to do another video soon about how to authenticate their wool / model scarves, but today I'm going to be talking more about the silk scarves. Also, if you're not looking at a McQueen scarf, you're looking at a different designer scarf, then a lot of these tips will apply to other scarves as well. But I've done lots of scarf videos, so feel free to watch those videos instead. But today I'm going to be talking about the McQueen scarf. So I have one right here. Oh, isn't it beautiful? I've barely worn this. It's so special. It's so pretty. It would actually go quite well with my outfit today. Maybe I should put it on later. But yeah, here is my scarf. It's beautiful. It's so special. And I'm going to show you what makes it authentic, guaranteed, marvelously McQueen. And I've also got kind of like a cheaper, like designer counterfeity scarf, which I'm going to show you so that you can get an idea of like the close-ups. Also, I've got some photos which I'm going to clip in, and there's also a blog post which goes alongside. So if you want to see any of the pictures and you really want to study them, do have a look at that as well. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to show you everything in this video. But it's just if you want to read it and kind of like get like, I don't know, take some more time to like really look at the close-ups, then hopefully that will help. Whew. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you is of course the hand rolled edges. This, I think, is the most important thing to look at when you are looking at a designer scarf. So the way to look for these is basically what a hand-rolled edge is exactly what it sounds like. Basically, it's a big piece of silk, and then the edge, instead of folding it and sewing it, what the seamstress has done is she has very delicately rolled the edge of the silk into itself to make like a tiny little cylinder, and it is a tiny cylinder. And then she has got a needle and thread and very meticulously done tiny stitches. The thread goes up the inside of the cylinder, so the only little bits of thread that you see on either side of the scarf are just literally pinpricks of thread, and they are every, I would say, about 3 to 4 millimeters. So it's a really delicate, intricate process. You cannot do it by machine. It has to be done by hand. It has to be done by people. And also because it's such a specific skill, not many people can do it. It's quite expensive. It's quite time consuming. Only brands who are charging a lot of money can afford to do it. Which is why it's a really good telltale sign if you're buying a real or a fake scarf. Also, just a side note, but if you're buying a silk square and it is literally a silk scarf, it's not like a chiffon or a wool, and it doesn't come with a hand-rolled edge, it's got a machine-rolled edge, then I don't personally think it's worth the money. If you are paying £200, £300, or even £400, it really should have that hand-rolled edge. Hermes do it, Chanel do it, Gucci do it, Dior. All the best brands will give you a hand-rolled edge because there is so much value and beautiful finishingness in a hand-rolled edge, and it is really something that you are paying that premium price for. If a brand is trying to sell you a very expensive scarf without a hand-rolled edge, and even if it is authentic, I don't personally think it matters. They should be giving you a hand-rolled edge. When you're wearing it, it's much more beautiful, and honestly, it is where a lot of the value is. Next, what should we talk about? Look at this print. I mean, that is an intricate print. Like, there is a lot going on. There are so many lines. There is so many neat little delicateness. Like, it is a very intricate print. And even though it is only like 2 colors in the scarf, there is so much intricacy and so much detail, and that is not easy. Whereas if you compare it to this scarf, this is one big bold print. This is much easier to print, whereas something like this is much harder to print. So if it has an intricate print, that is a really good sign. If you are looking at something like a Hermes scarf, you might find that there is one big print, but then there's loads of tiny details. That is good too, because what you're looking for is you're looking for the intricacy within the print. Even if it's one big motif with lots of little intricate details around, that's still good, but you want to see that finer detail, even if it's all over the scarf like this, or if it's just sections of the scarf. Either way, you want to look for intricate little printing, and you want to check that the lines are fine, they're sharp, they're crisp, there's no smudging, there's no bleeding, there's no bad colouring in, as I call it. It just wants to be really intricate and just like hard to do. Do you know what I mean? Like it should look hard to print, whereas like this looks like somebody's got a magic marker, and yeah, you can see the colours have smudged. You can see that like the colouring inside the lines, like this green here, is just not very well done. The yellow is like, it doesn't meet the lines at all. Sometimes it does meet the lines and it's gone to this kind of weird blue colour. But either way, it's like, it should be a perfect print, and it should be really quite intricate, and it should be like flawless all over. Speaking of printing, they should also print in the brand name. Now I have got my brand name printed in here. Ooh, I'm dropping it. Yeah, the brand name is printed in here. Now what you want to do here, I'm going to talk about this in a second as well because it relates to the label, but have a look on the Mcqueen website and really familiarize yourself with it. You want to know that logo. You want to know where the thickness of the M is compared to the thinness of the uplines. Do you know what I mean? You want to like really study that logo. So here you can see that it's got Queen has the Q, has the flick, the C is in the middle. You want to look at the spacing between the C and the Q. You want to look at the spacing between the M and the Q and the Q and the U and all the letters, and you want to like know how it looks. If they're bunched together on your scarf but they're spread out wide on the website, that's not a good sign. You really want to familiarize yourself with the logo and all the intricacies. You want to look at the font, the spelling. You want to look at all of it because you really want to like know that print and know that logo, because that logo should match perfectly the scarf. Yeah, they won't be doing it wrong. Do you know what I mean? They won't be using a slightly different font. They won't be using a slightly different logo. Do you know what I mean? They're just going to do it exactly as it should be. Now there are some cases where this has changed. So for instance, Burberry is now Burberry, whereas it used to be Burberry's. So if you've got an older heritage brand, you might know that there are like times where they've changed the logo just slightly. So if you're looking at it and it's not quite right, it could be because over the years they've made tweaks to the logo. But somebody like Mcqueen, as far as I'm aware, I don't think they've ever changed the logo. So the logo printed into the scarf should match perfectly the logo that they use across the entire brand. Whew, am I going on too much? Am I sounding like an absolute geek? By the way, I did used to work for a brand who made silk scarves, so that's why I'm like quite into it and quite like geeky. Apologies. Anyway, the next thing we're going to talk about is the label. So this is the label. Sometimes labels have been removed. If this is the case, please don't worry. It's not a big deal. Basically, they're stitched in so that you can keep them in if you want, but you can take them out if you want. Because often if you're wearing it, you don't want a label flapping around. So some women make the effort to just like carefully snip off the label. Other women will keep it on, but like sometimes they just fall off. Like I've got Chanel scarves that I bought with the label on, and then a year later I've been like, where's that label gone? And it just must have dropped off. But basically what you're looking for, if you're looking at the label, again, you want to study that logo and make sure it matches what it should look like on, say, the website, on the bags, whatever you have that is matching of that logo. You want to really study it, make sure the spacing, spelling, all the proportions of everything are correct. So you want to study the logo. And then mine, for instance, is made in Italy. Most silk scarves are made in Italy. A few brands make them in France as well, but generally they're made in Italy. So look out that it's marked as made in Italy. Look out for the brand, that it is spelt, spaced, font, everything perfectly. And also it should be marked as 100% silk. If the label is missing, please don't worry. It's not a red flag that it's fake. It's just fallen off. It's no big deal. Also, if it is on, then what you should be looking for is that it's stitched on with just a couple of stitches here, like one and one. It's not machine stitched across the entire line. It's literally just kind of almost tacked on in the corners. That is because I think it's done by hand, and yeah, it's just very neatly done by hand. Whereas if you were, say, to buy a counterfeit scarf, you might find that the edge of the scarf is machine stitched and then the label is stitched in again by machine. That's not a good sign, just saying. Whew, so that is the next one. The next one, this is a little bit harder to show on camera, so please consult the images I'm going to show. But basically what you're looking for is you're looking for what the silk is made of. Now, firstly, what you can do is you can hold it up to the window, and if it is quite opaque, that is a good sign. Whereas like with this one, it's quite sheer, it's quite translucent. That's not good. That is a lightweight, thin silk, which is, yeah, sheer, see-through. Like you might even be able to see me or my hand through the scarf. You might not be able to, but you definitely can't see it through here because it is a thick, heavy silk twill. So like if you can, hold it up to the light and have a look to see how thick and heavy it is. If not, just feel the weight. Like if it's heavyish, that's a good sign. Whereas this is quite light and it's actually a bigger scarf. This is heavier and it's a smaller scarf. That is because silk twill is very thick, it's quite heavy, and you will literally be able to feel the difference. Also, it should be made of silk, so it should look like silk and it should feel like silk. And also, because it's made of silk twill, it should have tiny little lines. I don't know if you can see, but like you can see like almost in the weave of the silk, there's like tiny, tiny little lines. And it is more like the silk that you might almost expect to get on a men's silk tie. Do you know what I mean? Like it's thick, it's heavy, it's opaque, and it is slightly lined, whereas this one is a very flat, smooth surface of the silk. And it's more like a parachute silk or a crepe, whereas this is more of a lined, it's almost like a shirt. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, that kind of slight texture to the scarf, and you want to be looking for that. Silk twill is the best, it's the heaviest, it's the thickest, and also when you knot it, God, I'm really going on here, apologies, but you know, you want to authenticate your scarf, you know, but when you knot it, you should get quite a good, thick, heavy knot, and also it shouldn't move. Do you know what I mean? Like it should be quite hard to undo, and when you're wearing it, you should all be able to like tie it around your neck. Ooh. You should be able to tie it around your neck, and the knot should pretty much last like all day. Whereas if you're wearing a cheaper scarf, which is made of like quite a silky satin or like a quite lightweight, like shiny silk, that will actually come undone quite easily. So your scarf, you should tie it on and it should be like there to stay. So that is a good test to just see if it's like a slippery silk, because it shouldn't be. What else do I want to talk about? I swear there's something else. I think that's it. I got it. I nailed all the points. So basically what you want to be looking for, the hand-rolled edges, the silk twill, the heaviness, the thickness, the care label, if there is one, it should say it's silk, it should say it's made in Italy, and the logo of the brand should match the website. You should look for the Mcqueen printed into the scarf. That should be perfectly printed and it should match the website. You want to look at the intricacy of the print. Even if it's one large motif, it should still be sharp, it should be crisp, it should be beautifully done. There should be no smudging, no messiness, but like it should have a real crisp clearness, just like you couldn't do it at home. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a skill there. You want to really be able to feel that skill. You also want to be able to feel the silk twill. You want to be able to feel the quality, and it should just feel right. But they are the main points to look for. I hope that is of help. Apologies that I've rambled on for so much. Silk scarves are a passion of mine, as is normal. But yeah, that's what you want to be looking for. But my number one tip is always to look for the hand-rolled edge, the silk twill, and do always check those logos, because that is somewhere that they often slip up. Even if they've managed to nail the silk twill, even if they've managed to nail the hand-rolled edge, which is very rare, you do want to make sure those logos are matched out perfectly. And if you are ever buying any designer item that you are not sure about, check the logo. I know it sounds crazy, but that is where they often slip up. I once bought a fake Chanel scarf and actually the Chanel font was not correct. They had done the Chanel font in the border correctly, but they had not done the Chanel font in the bottom corner. They had just slipped up. It happens. But yeah, that is my video. I hope it's of help. So sorry it's such a long one, but thank you so much for watching and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye!